Welcome to the Clubhouse. My name is Ed Balilin. I'm one of the co-founders and I'm on the board of directors for FilAm Creative. We want to thank you for coming out to our second annual Actors Panel. So thank you for this. We really appreciate it. For those of you who have never been to a FilAm Creative event, this is our 7th year of existence. And we're happy to be serving the Los Angeles and Southern California entertainment, Filipino and Asian entertainment communities. We support actors, comedians, photographers, filmmakers, writers, anyone involved in the entertainment industry. At the end of this event, I'll be introducing the members of our leadership team, and we invite you to stay after and not only meet our wonderful panelists, so I'm going to introduce them in a second also, but also meet with our leadership team to talk about how you can get involved in our organization. You can find us online at www.filamcreative.com. So we welcome you to do that. We also welcome you to stay till the end because one of our sponsors, the lovely folks at Parks Finest, some great food. We'll have a drawing for some yummies. I think you all got a little ticket. So we're going to have a little drawing for some yummies at Parks Finest, so we invite you to stay for that.
We're okay.
All right, there you go. See the panelists are excited, so you should be too. So we want to welcome our 4 awesome panelists in today's festivities. Our first guest is a stand-up comedian from San Francisco, and you can see him on NBC's Superstore. Let's welcome Nico Santos. We're very excited to introduce our second panelist. She was here. She's been here for every panel we've done. All 2 of them. She's here for our second panel, and we're really happy that she's here. You can see her on CW's Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Let's welcome TESS PARAS. Our third panelist is a 17-year veteran casting director with CSA, and she's been involved with such projects as iRobot and God's Not Dead 2. Let's welcome Dea Vise. And our final panelist today is a talent manager and the founder of Studio Talent Group, Mr. Phil Rock. Thank everyone for coming, and let's start at the end. We're going to ask each panelist to just give a little bit of a description of how they got started in the business. We can start with Phil and work our way up towards here. So Phil, how did you get started in the industry?
Well, I'm born in Santa Monica, so if you're in LA, to some extent the industry resides within you. So, I acted a little bit as a youngster and then came back to it years later. I'm a voting member of the Television Academy, was an actor for many years, and then really accidentally, became a talent manager and Studio Talent Group. We are managers for our clients. We're also licensed as a California talent agent as well, and we're in our 22nd year.
Amen. I was an actress. I started when I was a little kid and did a bunch of stuff until I was, 28. But I got all the degrees in acting, did all that. And then I started working as an assistant in commercial casting, and actually I was an agent for a minute before that. But then I started working in casting, and I've been doing it ever since, and I really love doing that.
This will be like half an hour. So, I started out doing commercial print as a kid. Then I was doing, I started out doing musical theater, really singing and dancing as a kid, and then moved to New York. Went to NYU, did a lot of musical theater for the first couple of years out of school, touring and all that sort of stuff. And then, and then from then on did a lot of TV in New York, and then moved to LA about 5 years ago and started doing TV, and now writing a little bit more. And today.
I started out, I did theater in high school, and I started out as an acting major in college, and then I hated it. So I switched my major from performance to costume design. And I was working for a professional theater company, in Ashland, Oregon, doing well-known costumes for them. And one of the actors has suggested, "You're really funny. You should do stand-up." So, and it didn't occur to me to do that until he had mentioned it. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna leave this one horse town and move to San Francisco." So that's what I did. Moved to San Francisco from Ashland, Oregon. Did stand-up in SF for about 6 years, and then kind of just grew out there and plateaued there. And then I was like, I'm gonna move to LA. So I moved to LA 6 years ago, and we met doing the CBS Diversity Showcase. But I moved down here mainly to do stand-up. I wasn't actually thinking about acting at all. And then doing that CBS Diversity Showcase, started auditioning, got an agent, and eventually booked Superstore. So I was kind of, I'm now a working actor, kind of through the back road.
Welcome to LA.
This question is for Dee. Dee, what do you enjoy most about casting, about working in casting?
The most fun in casting that I have is finding some random person in the bathroom or
Don't use the bathroom right
like at a Campbell store. I mean, just like, or in a play, watching a play, and saying, "Oh my God, that guy's great." I mean, I just love when I can hire somebody that's not famous yet. That's really fun.
That's us.
That's it.
Yeah.
all right, I think you handle company after this.
Yeah.
Phil, what do you enjoy most about managing actors?
Seeing actors do better than they did the day before, seeing actors get auditions, seeing them start the book, seeing their progression. I mean, everything that I do in life is really geared toward helping others, from my charitable efforts to my business to everything that I do in my city. And for me, I think the best satisfaction you can ever get is not what you do for yourself, but what you find a way to help others. And money comes if you're doing a great job. And if you do a crappy job at what you do, you shouldn't be making any money anyway. So I am a real big proponent of being thrilled when one of my actors gets called, we get called by Dee to book somebody, and it's somebody who may not have booked a co-star or guest star or series regularly before, and we get to help guide their career and help them succeed.
Great.
Tess and Nico, what do you enjoy most about acting?
What do I enjoy most about acting? I love, the thing is it's so collaborative, and I think the most fun that I have is when you're working on a set and everyone's bringing their A game. Like you can kind of feel from the crew everything. I was on a job this week and we had one super long day. It was like a 12-hour day, but everyone was bringing it every hour. And I feel like that is what impresses me, and it makes me bring my A game, and when other people are lifting each other up, I think that's what I enjoy the most, because you can kind of feel a buzz when everyone's just like, let's do it, and get in there and zone in and do whatever you're doing the best.
Yeah, definitely working with really amazing people helps you sort of think, I better fucking step up because these people are good. I enjoy, I think I had a very specific idea of what an actor was when I went to college. And that's why I switched my major, because I thought what an actor meant was like, oh, I had to do Shakespeare, Chekhov, and all that stuff, and I was not interested in doing that. I knew I wanted to perform, I knew I wanted to be on stage, but I wasn't interested in doing classical theater. And come to find out, moving to Los Angeles, it really, like, you can just be yourself and act, and that's actually, it's a city that allows you to be that. Being gay and Filipino and just the way I am naturally, like, I don't think I would have this career in any other city except in television and movies, And I think that's what I love about acting here in LA in particular and television, is that you can be just sort of like you, and they embrace that rather than being that actors like, there are actors and then there are actors.
So we've talked about the good stuff, the joys, the favorite parts. What's the hardest part of your careers? We can start with Phil. The hardest part of your career?
Not being able to succeed for each actor. You can put your heart and soul into it, and sometimes it still doesn't happen, or it's not that actor's time yet. I think that's probably the most difficult. However, if you're an agent or manager and you're submitting talent, you lose thousands of times every day. Every time you submit, someone may not get that audition. So you have to learn to take those morsels, right, that you get when you get that audition for somebody, and treasure that, because at the end of each day, every manager and agent in LA can kill themselves. Literally, because you may have submitted your actors hundreds of times between TV and commercials and film and theater, and you find out at the end of the day you get back a little stack of auditions, but you submitted this huge stack. That's distressing. We just had someone booked on a series record, on a new series, and they were ready to start filming in a week.
Didn't work.
And the major financing bank fell through. So here you are, your actor's ready to take off for location, and suddenly the project is in thin air. I mean, that's distressing, but then you look at it and go, part of me, when I was a little kid, there was a toy called a Whammo doll, and it's now called something else. But it was this plastic doll, not that kind of doll, and it had a little happy face on, and you hit it, and as you hit it, hits the ground, comes back up. All actors are Whammo dolls. Your job is to get hit and bounce back up and say, hit me again. That's the deal.
It's funny, the item maybe fall apart after we cast for 2 months, and then we cast everybody, we were done, and then a week later, or a week ago, we got a call saying that they had lost their funding. So I said, well, you're gonna call the actors, I'm not. I'm not calling them, but I know, but I did have to call them, of course, but it was very frustrating. But the thing that I guess frustrates me the most is when actors are given that rare opportunity for an audition, because, I mean, we'll get 10,000 submissions on a roll, we'll narrow it down to 10 people, and then, 8 of them won't be off book. And it's amazing to me that why even do it? Why waste everybody's time? I try to give new people a chance. And I have a 3-strike rule. Like, if you come in 3 times unprepared, I'm not going to see you again for years until you've proven to me that you've learned how to do the work.
You're pretty damn lenient.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to
Most cast directors be once,
yeah, no,
and then they never see it
You do
again.
it 3 times, and that's it. And I had to fire my first actor last month, and that was really hard because she went psycho. She just literally started doing crazy things, and I had to call her and say, I'm sorry, we called it creative differences. So it was a little special, but yeah, that's not that.
Toughest thing, but it also is a job requirement, is I think keeping at it. Especially, I don't know, it's tough to say this without using this Whammo doll image I have in my head, and I was like, whoa, that's real harsh. Hey man. But essentially, your job requirement is to keep at it, and a lot of it is, at a certain point, you do what you do, whatever your strengths are, and you have to kind of let it go and realize that sometimes the project just isn't for you, or you could do the best you can do, but they want somebody who's taller, or somebody who's older, or somebody, or whatever. So I feel like the biggest challenge there is to know that you did the best that you could do. You did the work, you came prepared, you came at it with whatever you could bring, and then realizing that walk away, that's all you can do. And realize that as long as you brought your A game, I guess that's going to be my model for today. It's like, as long as you brought your A game, that's all you can do. So just come and do that and be the best version of, you're the actor that you can be in the room, and leave it at that, and really leave it at that, because it doesn't do you any service to be hung up on stuff that you didn't get or whatever. You always got to keep looking forward and keep creating and keep doing your thing. So.
Yeah, you really have to forget about it the minute you walk out of that room.
Yeah.
Because and I had to learn this the first few auditions I went to. I would we've had plenty of conversations. Would obsess about oh, did I go well? You could have done something different, and you just, you have to focus and do the best you can and just walk away. I also came to a point where I had to sort of accept and realize that, like the big dream, like may never happen. Like, like for me, it was all about being comfortable living in LA, pursuing it, and just chipping at it slowly but surely every day. But I mean, thank God it did. But you have to resign yourself to the fact that you just have to enjoy the process of being here and going for it. But for a lot of people, I'm sure we all know this. I have friends who've been here for 15, 20 years who haven't booked anything further than like that guest star or whatever.
Right.
It may never happen. And honestly, I reached the point. Was like, well, I'm booking co-stars and guest stars. I'm paying my rent. Just doing it. I mean, like that was enough for me.
Yeah.
And really, when I got to that point, then like the bigger jobs started coming along. So, but that rejection that you face every day is so just brutal. I'm used to doing stand-up where if I'm on stage and I tell a joke, people laugh. I'm like, oh, good, I'm doing my job. I know that I'm hitting all the right notes. When you go to an audition and you go in a room, you're prepared, and I know how to do this material. I know I'm funny. You do your material or the scene for the one casting director and their assistant, and there's no laugh, and they're reading with you. It's like, oh, that's great. What nothing to work with.
I just to go.
Yeah.
I tested for a show this week, and they were instructed not to laugh.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want the laughter on the tape.
Yeah.
So I'm like sitting there, I don't know if it's like for a network test. So like we all went in, and you're in a room very similar to this one where the room's filled with like 28 executives, right? And you do your audition with everyone else who could be potential cast members for the show. And for the network test, they were like, this tape is going to New York, but we've been instructed not to laugh. And we're doing a comedy!
Oh my God.
And so you're sitting up there with your scene partner, and all these people in suits are just like,
Nothing.
nothing.
That was the hardest part of having to switch my gears in my head from doing stand-up to like acting, is that you won't get a response in the room.
No,
And
yeah.
I'm like, I know this is funny, but you're literally looking at me like I'm a fucking dead
Yeah, the
fish.
trust.
Yeah. So-
That would make you feel like a meat puppet.
It did.
It's like, oh my God.
That's what I'm like, am I doing this right?
I couldn't do that. I absolutely couldn't do that where I just didn't laugh at comedy. I mean, I would just tell the producer I'm sorry if I laugh a lot.
Right.
But I mean, when you have 20 people and they're all suits, and it's that mentality that, do what we say, But I'm doing independent stuff, so I don't ever have to deal with that. It would be horrible. It would be horrible. That one is horrible.
So let's stay on comedy for a second then. So Nico, what has being a stand-up comedian, what kind of experience did that give you as you got into acting? What skills helped you develop your craft as an actor?
Well, I do a lot of characters in my stand-up, and I think that's what helped. I just had to sort of look at it in a different way. Like when I do characters in my stand-up, they're very short and specific, and then having to delve into acting, I just would have to explore who that character really is. But it was a hard transition because I really never thought of myself as an actor, because in college I was told by my acting professors, like you're not an actor, you're never going to make it in this business. You may love the art, but the art doesn't love you.
Oh my God, is that a quote? Is that a direct
That was a
quote?
quote from Dennis
No.
Smith. Dennis Smith,
Look
professor of
down that
acting
camera. Dennis
at Southern
Smith.
Oregon University.
Poor Dennis Smith.
It was really, yeah, exactly. With my Emmy, I'm like, Dennis Smith. Yeah, well, that's the thing. And it took me a while, because I do feel, and I have great admiration for actors who like the Meryl Streeps of the world, who really can transform and are so dedicated to their craft. But I had to accept that, like, listen, that's just not what I do. I do comedy, and and I'd like to think that I do it well, and but so what? I'll never be fucking Morgan Freeman or Meryl Streep. But I had to accept the fact that I have something else to offer, a different set of skills that I offer that's not going to be that. And I think just sort of, and that's what really helped. That's what really helped me, like being in LA, is sort of like knowing who you are as, or what you offer, who you are as a product. I just say what you offer, but like, this is what I do, and this is all I can give you. If you want that guy who is, Morgan Freeman or whatever, I'm like, go look like somebody else.
Right.
this is what I can do, this is what I can give you, and sort of as soon as you recognize that set of skills in you, I think it really helps sort of transform how you approach education.
But I like your point about, your professor's comment fueling you. And, everyone has different forms of motivation. So here's a good question for everybody. Some people are motivated by haters, by people who criticize them. Some people are motivated by quotes and encouragement. So for the four of you, what motivates you? What keeps you motivated?
Honestly, I love when I see something that somebody made that's great, and I'm like, God damn it, that's so good, I wish I did that too. So I feel like it's kind of a happy ending. Like, anytime I see a new show or something like that where I'm like, that's brilliant. Why didn't I do that? Okay, back to the
challenge
laptop.
you.
Say it again?
It challenge you.
Challenges me, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not a challenge is like, to me, is like a direct confrontation. But I feel like it's more of like a positive stress. Like the thing that recently did that to me was I saw Ali Wong's stand-up special. And her material and her point of view on what was going on, I was like, yep, great point of view. And granted, I come from a sketch comedy background and I don't do stand-up, but I loved the point of view and the specificity that she had in her humor. And I was like, yep, that is where I want to be. I want to have that specificity. I want to do what they're doing. And so some sort of kind of envy. And that's why I think, heroes are an important thing, knowing exactly why you like a person and getting down to exactly why you like that person and how can you bring that out of yourself. I think that's definitely something that guides me.
Repeat that question.
What motivates you? What kind of things keep you motivated?
Well, I'm motivated to do better every day. I'm sort of automatic. I look at each day as something fresh, and I have to beat the day before in what I'm doing in all areas of my life. So, I stress to my actors, they're supposed to do better. I stress to people that I teach that they're supposed to do better every day. And personally, I sort of mentioned that I do so much stuff outside of my job as well that are so many extracurricular activities. I'm vice president of my local Kiwanis Club. I'm president of my high school alumni association. I've been the chair of the Recreation and Parks Commission in Santa Monica for 14 years. I'm president of the Boys and Girls Club Council in Santa Monica. I was president of the Talent Managers Association in America. So I really don't need a lot of motivation. Every once in a while you wake up and you have that day, where you're just like, you're worn out, you're done. I have an uncle in North Carolina who was the first PhD in the history of, I think, our family in America for 400 years or whatever. And he told me one morning, he called me and I was just done. It was a Saturday, it was the first day I had actually had off in like 6 weeks. I didn't have any public activities, I didn't have anything. And all I wanted to do was hide in bed for the day. And he told me, you have a choice in life, Phil. You can choose to rust out, or you can choose to wear out. And I went, at the end of my life, I would much rather have worn out than rusted out. So to me, I'm pretty good about motivating myself and motivating others. I think, everyone finds a skill set, and as you get older, you start to know what you do well. And for me, I know my best thing is being a coach. Being someone who cheers other people on, making them believe they can do better than they did the day before. And I have to do that myself too.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. I died in a hospital on September 26, 2009.
What?
Yeah, twice. And I don't remember the first time, but the second time, I did see the tunnel and the light and all that.
What?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What? Girl, tell me.
Spill that tea, what happened?
Yeah, it was so weird. But my first thought, and I'll never forget it because it was so bizarre, was, oh, fuck, I'm dead. And I just remember looking up this mountain at this white light at the top of the mountain, and all these people were walking by me up this mountain, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I was furious. I was angry at that.
Wait, they don't have an escalator?
No.
You would think they could afford an escalator up there.
You have to walk.
Oh, that's a pain in the butt.
I was really sick, so I
You can call it Uber or something.
And I what the hell? I was so angry. I was very angry. And then my cousin, who had died 4 years before that, kind of popped in the frame, and she called me Deanne. I was Deanne until I was 8 years old, and I've been ever since. And she goes, Deanne, go back. And I turned around, like, where's that? And I got slammed. I got slammed back into the bed, and I had all these doctors and nurses over me going, Deanne, stay with us, Deanne. And everybody's calling me Deanne. I'm like, my name's Dee. Oh my God. I was an angry dead person. I was really angry. But
Which is why they were making you walk up the stairs instead of going down the escalator.
everybody was
Walk it off, Dee. Walk it off. Yeah.
So after that, I've been casting for a long time, but I went and got a master's in clinical psychology just because I thought I want to help people. I got PTSD really bad from that experience, but and I wanted to help people with PTSD. And then I furthered and just finished my doctoral studies. I'm working on my dissertation for my PsyD, which is a doctorate of psychology. And I treat clients on Thursday and Friday nights. I'm casting director every day, and then I have 2 nights of therapy. But that motivated me to change everything. Like suddenly everything was different. Because like I thought, when you died, I don't know what it was in the light, but I know that I had no pain and it was pretty cool and there were a bunch of people around. But I didn't have any of my stuff. And I was like, no, I'm motivated to stay here and help people so I can be a part of life and be a part of this place where I have a car. You don't have a car in there.
So you just want stuff.
I just want stuff. I said my stuff. Fast. Now, and speaking of stuff, I had hoarded a bunch of stuff in my office because I was so sick for about 2 years before I died. And I started buying all this stuff, and it ended up in my office. And it's still like that because I ended up going to grad school for 6 years. But I'm slowly getting rid of crap in my office. It's just built up. But I was so changed by that experience, and it just changed everything. It was like, I don't take much seriously anymore. I mean, in the sense of, you really have to push me over the edge when it gets,
Right, I don't know.
I died 5 times.
I was almost dead, but I was just asleep.
It's so different. But I really do let your haters be your motivators.
Yeah.
Because I've been told no, and I've been told that you're never gonna do it. You know, when I was in college, the acting people told me that I wouldn't be an actor, and then I said, well, I think I'm gonna go to San Francisco and try stand-up. I was told by a lot of the people, except for that one guy who said you should do stand-up. They're like, well, I don't know, Nico. Like, you know, we've been to LA before, we've done stand-up, and it's really hard. Like, you probably shouldn't do it. I'm just like, you know what? I love proving people wrong, and just being able to say, F you, I did it. It's the best fucking feeling.
One acting teacher who told me, and this is specific to being Filipino, so she told me, well, no one knows what Filipinos are, that's a weird Asian.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I was like, sit down. We're not taking, how are you an acting teacher?
Yeah.
How are you any
And yeah,
teacher?
she was like, she's a very prominent teacher here in Los Angeles.
Names.
She was like, I'll tell you after this. And I signed a release form. But basically she was like, she said, she was like, she goes, you're from New York, and I get that you work a lot in New York and whatever, but here in LA, people don't know what Filipinos, like, that's a weird Asian. So, so maybe.
So doesn't that mean you can be?
I mean, I don't know what her framework was, but essentially, like, I think that's the struggle for a lot of people is like, oh, we don't know how to place you because we don't have a stereotype in our head. So therefore, you can't break through because there's no stereotype, and it's like, okay, well, you need to break through what you think normal is, and you need to break through what you think representation is and what stories can be told. Because, all that sort of stuff. And that's the larger, I think that's the larger conversation about the industry, as well as far as our vehicle for storytelling and what we consider our everyman is not necessarily everyone's everyman, or looking for that now.
Isn't that that's
So
even more
frustrating.
absurd, because if you live in Los Angeles,
Right.
we are Jesse Jackson's rainbow in
Welcome
LA
to the world.
every single day.
Yeah.
And the frustration has always been, I think for a lot of us, is that we weren't seeing what we would see when we walk down the street
Right.
on TV or on film.
Right.
And we're just now starting, and we're still at the infant stages of seeing real true racial diversity on screen.
Amen.
And that's an absurd statement because it's like, I used to say 10, 15 years ago, did writers ever actually go out in the sunshine in LA and see what was walking down the streets?
Right.
Go down Vermont Avenue today.
Right.
That is LA and that's America. And that is incredible. If someone's saying, well, it can't place you, then create a damn spot.
Yeah.
Create that.
Specifically with the Filipino thing, I mean, we've always been, as a
But you're a
people,
crossover.
a little bit under the radar. You know, I mean, it's 2016, Tess, me, Vincent Rodriguez on your show as well. Like, we're the only Filipino characters on network television.
Yeah.
We're the second largest
Every
Asian
time
community in the United States. We're the largest Asian community in California.
Yeah.
But we are hardly represented in the media at
Yeah.
all. So it's really, I mean, we've always sort of had to struggle with, you know, everybody knows a Filipino, but you never see them in movies or television.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me about that is like I put out breakdowns all the time, and I always do all ethnicity breakdowns. But I put one out the other day, and I didn't write all ethnicities on it, and only white people submitted.
Right.
And I was like,
We
wait,
need to get that
no.
specific.
And I have to put, please submit all ethnicities, because people just assume it's a white role.
Default, yeah.
Right.
It's the default, and the agents didn't
Default.
submit, and the actors didn't submit. So once I put all ethnicities, then suddenly it was like, you know, I got what I wanted. But,
Yes.
I mean, that's not, if it doesn't say a specific ethnicity, submit. Period.
Right. And demand it of your shows too. I feel like Filipinos, we need to say what we are. Like you brought up that statistic. We are the second largest Asian American population in the United States. That is, you know, you research whatever year it was of that sentence, that like it goes to Chinese American, Filipino, and then Japanese and Korean. You know, I believe that's the order. Check it out, internet.
Google it.
Google that. But we need to demand that and demand that of our characters and demand that on screen. So I feel like, you know, we need to be part of that conversation and be angry about it and say, I mean, we need people who look like us. I mean, I think that's why I was so compelled to write and demand it and say, this is, you know, I'm going to represent my stories and do all that and keep pushing from the other way. Because as an actor, the first time I ever saw a Filipino in a breakdown was for Grimm. When I did, they had an episode a couple years back where about the Aswang folktale, and you know that was the first time I ever saver that, and I was like, oh, I am all up on this. I called, you know, my manager. I was like, give me this, and so I ended up playing the role. But that was the first time that I had ever seen a guest star, specifically Filipino American woman, for this role. And you know, since then, hopefully it's been better, but. You know,
I'm
demand
gonna
it.
say a
But
word.
you do make progress. I mean, I was with the cast of Fresh Off the Boat yesterday. And I was a little bit bitter because I had the actor who came up second for one of the roles. He tested twice before they rejected him at the end. But you know, I was with that cast, and just to see them on stage and realizing, you know, they were supposed to fail a year ago, February, because they were going to be the first Asian, you know, show in 20 years since Margaret Cho. I mean, that was incredible when you look at that, and the way that they're proud of the way that they feel they're helping change culture.
Yeah, and how great is their writers' room?
Yeah.
Like, their writers' room is the, you know, Natasha Khan running that writers' room, and you know.
Yeah.
And that show is very specific to the Chinese experience,
Yes.
which is great because
But it's still-
Margaret's show was like, it's all Asian. Use chopsticks and punch away. And
Yeah,
like,
just
she's
mix it
Korean.
all together.
So it's not the same thing.
They were real proud of the fact last night that they felt that they were integrating their Asian experience into terms that other ethnicities could understand. And now they were talking about how do they bring more people of other ethnicities into the show to enlarge their experience as well. And the purpose, I think, is 20 years from now, you don't see Blackish or you don't see Fresh Off the Boat. You just see TV or whatever TV becomes at that point.
Hear that, America?
But it's the writers that do it. I mean, it's like.
It's writers, producers, it's what the network wants to take. Like, they think these things are risks. They think, you know.
ABC's been really good about opening up.
Yeah, I think it comes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I love about Superstore is that, you know, like 4 out of the 7 series regulars are people of color.
Awesome.
And that, I mean, like, when I found out, I was like, this is insane. And actually, there's like, including 2 of the recurring characters, 4 people are Asian. I mean, Nicole Bloom and I are Asian, and then there you have the guy who plays Brett and the lady who plays Sandra. When I saw that Nicole got cast, I was actually really worried out because
You're like, there's 2?
no, well, you know, when you're a person of color and you see that box ticked away and checked, a lot of the time you're like, well, they hired their Asian.
They've got
I'm not gonna get hired.
They've got
I literally was like, there's no way they're gonna hire me.
I've gotten,
because that
you
box has
look
been
too
checked.
close to our series regular, and I was like, we are not the same.
So I was really surprised and so thankful for the people behind Superstore that created the show. They really, and the show isn't really about any immigrant or ethnic experience. You know, we're just like
A store.
a store in St. Louis, and you know, we've definitely brought in, you know, my Filipino background, America's Latina background,
Exactly.
and all that. But it's really not about that. It's just about just, you know, the store and the product.
It was so different than it was. I mean, when I used to cast commercials when I started 17 years ago, the check mark, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
we have to have 1 Asian, 1 African American, but it was like Asian, 1 African American, when there's a million types of Asian, and
Yeah.
there's quite a few types of African American, and there's also British, Black people,
Yeah.
and people from Ghana or wherever else, and there's all these other, what are you talking about? You know, so we would always cast the extras as a mix. And the principals would be white people, and that made me crazy. It was like, I don't understand. I mean, it's like you're talking about half the country that isn't white, or more at this point, probably 75%. And what are you just going to cater to white people? And now I see all these commercials that and now we have multi-racial marriages and children.
Yeah, but you know what? Donald Trump's gonna solve all that.
I'm moving back to the Philippines.
Well, no, we're all moving to Mexico.
We don't know though.
Because there'll be the
We
wall,
don't know.
and the wall will separate us from Trump.
Yeah. I know the Philippines just elected their version of Trump, actually.
Yeah, you just did.
I'm not going back to the
You
Philippines.
just did. You elected like Trump on steroids.
He has Filipino employee too.
Even,
Yeah.
He Trump.
I'm sure you know.
Crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't trying to go off on that, it was just, I was listening to that comment. But you know, and I'll just throw one other thing, there was a casting company, commercial casting company years ago, the Monkey Brothers. And.
I dated both of them, by the way.
Hey, you got stories, Steve. You got stories.
Girl, you
You
died.
got stories, she died.
We had a Persian actor who could cross over the Persian character actor. And there would be these breakdowns for commercials, white bread, middle class, insurance agent, da-da-da. And we started throwing them in because there was not going to be a darn thing for him ever. So we started throwing in the breakdown, and the Monkey Brothers one day bit. Because my job is to throw bait in the water and hope that someone grabs that bait. So they brought him in one day, and all of a sudden he gets a call back. And they called me and said, oh my God, you submitted him, he's fantastic, he doesn't fit our stereotype, we're gonna throw him in on every tape for a while. So literally, I think we booked 8 commercials with the Monkey Brothers, right, for that actor. And every one of them was against the stereotype that the commercial agencies wanted, but they would see him on the tape and they would go, oh, that's interesting. You know, but the other side still happens. One of my actresses was the Cheerios little girl 2 years ago. You know, where they put a mixed race couple talking about heart health for Cheerios. Well, she's one of my young actresses. And the furor that erupted.
Oh, people went crazy.
Cheerios, General Mills is a Kentucky company. And with thousands of emails complaining to Cheerios. Cheerios called me, I ended up having a conversation, very rare, we had a conversation with the vice president of Cheerios and the agency because I was trying to convince them to keep the commercial going. They wanted to pull it because they were so afraid of the backlash that they were getting. And what was interesting is one of my other actresses, she's 17 and her father had just come in the office. And just before General Mills had called me back, we had showed that father and his daughter that commercial. And the father turned to me and said, you know what? I need to eat better.
That's
Because
exactly-
African Americans, the rate of heart disease and dying is so much greater than Caucasians. And I told the General Mills person that online. I said, not only are you changing stereotypes in America, but there's actually a clear medical message that maybe African American dads will take home to them, and their children will have their fathers around longer. And they kept running the commercial, and then they ended up making a second one. But that day, we thought we were going to lose it because it was a mixed race family. That was 2 years ago in America. Not pre-Obama, not civil rights. That was 2 years ago. So there's still a long way to go, as we all know. And I know we completely took you off your questions and
Exactly.
I mean, if you're of the same species, knock yourselves out.
So we're talking a lot about problems with diversity, and we're here with two actors who are in projects that are very, they prominently, they give a position for prominence for Filipinos. When someone who's Asian, who's Filipino, approaches you, what do they say to you? How does that make you feel when they talk to you? Are they really excited about your prominence now?
They're super excited.
What is that like?
Yeah, and it's really, I honestly didn't also realize how kind of big of a deal it was until I started getting a lot of messages on social media about, like, oh my God, like, like not only you're Filipino, but like seeing like a queer Filipino on television. Like, when I was just getting into the business, all I knew was Alec Mapa was the only other queer Filipino I saw on television. So I was like, when I saw him, I was like, oh my God, yes, like there's hope. There's hope. But yeah, it's been great actually getting messages from like a lot of really young people who are just like, thank you for representing the Filipino community. I'm sure you're doing a lot of this too. But, it actually just made me think, wow, there really isn't a whole lot of us if you're getting this type of response from everybody. So it's really, more support.
Yeah, as far as the feedback that people are getting, I think, I feel like I've done a couple of events and things like that where people will, I mean, I don't think, I have nothing to do with it. I want to say just like big ups to the writers and the producers of our show, like Rachel Bloom and Aline Bosch McKenna. They really did stay true to what the demographics of West Covina are. They stayed true, and I think that is important, and they really were pioneers to push story and story rules, and you're not going to have a story that takes place in Southern California that doesn't feature Filipinos, so they were really big advocates of that, and I'm just so thankful that I get to be a part of it. I think, it's going to come a long time coming when you see sitcoms like Friends, where you're like, oh, here are Friends in New York, and you're like, okay, all those white people who are all friends in New York. It's not, we won't ever see that again, or I hope we won't ever see that again. So I feel like story needs to rule, and the stories are going to be about people, and Filipinos exist, and include them. So that's all I can really say about that.
I mean, I'm really grateful to the creators of Superstore that they were open-minded enough to sort of change the role of Mateo for me, because none of the characters on Superstore were written for any specific ethnicity. Like, Amy was not written to be Latina, Jared was not written to be Black, Nicole's character, Cheyenne, was not Asian at all. Actually, the only part that had a specific ethnicity was Mateo, and he was supposed to be a Latino thug, like this butch gangster. And the original monologue was him talking about he has 11 brothers and sisters, and they're all incarcerated, and he was supposed to be like just this huge tough guy, which I clearly.
I see it, like your essence.
Typecasting. But I mean, they were open-minded enough to see me in the role, and I was just like, well, I'm obviously not a gangster type. I mean, I can play a butch, but not that butch. So I just did it as a version of me, and they ended up, really liking it and changed it to. And I was saying for a while that I was like, well, are they gonna keep it Latino and they're just gonna make it a little more fade, but no, they completely embraced the fact that I was Filipino. They're like, no, we're changing. I got to pick my own name, because it was originally.
Your last name on the show?
My full name is Mateo Fernando Aquino Liwan.
Yes!
Mateo Fernando Aquino Liwan. That's the full name. Because I mean,
There's no Marcos in it.
Marcos. Aquino. My family's Aquino supporters all the way. But like I mean, the original name was Mateo Hernandez, and it was like, was that a Filipino name? I'm like, well, yeah, you know, a lot of us have Spanish last names, so they wanted him to have a more Filipino sounding name, so I submitted like this whole list of names and they ended up with that. So, yeah, they really were like, no, we'll make him Filipino. You're Filipino, you're not Mexican, so we're turning the character to a Filipino gay guy.
I have a question. Could you be, I don't know Filipino TV that much. I had one of my actresses for a while who came here and went back, and Rachel Grant was doing things. But my question is, could you be gay on Filipino TV?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's actually a huge,
I'm asking.
there's a huge stand-up comedian actor in the Philippines who's actually sort of like gender queer. I mean, he dresses in drag. His name is Vice Agenda, and he's huge in the I mean, he is huge in the Philippines. And when I was born and raised in the Philippines. I moved to Oregon when I was 16, and growing up, you had some gay actors, but for him to have that big of a career in the Philippines, it really means that things are kind of changing.
No, that's good. I didn't know.
I don't think, I mean, like, I didn't come out until I moved to the United States, and I don't think I would have come out had I stayed in Manila. You know, it took me being thrown into Gresham, Oregon when I was 16 to like, I'm by myself in a strange country and I'm gay. If you read interviews with Aziz Ansari and other people of color who have success in their shows, it's like you can't wait for Hollywood to write those stories for you. And we live in an age where we have YouTube and there's so many opportunities for you to just take your iPhone and film yourself and put it up there, and boom, it's out there.
Right.
You know, like, just, I guess don't wait, like, you know, you have all this stuff at your fingertips and just...
Nico's been in my YouTube video.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But don't forget about training while you're making your YouTube videos, because just because you're on, you know, I don't want to just see you talk on YouTube if you don't have any acting training.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to book when you come in the room.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Yep.
And being your personality, there's reality shows for that, absolutely, but you're not going to be able to compete with the ones who have, 20 years of training. If that's
Yeah,
what you have.
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think stand-up, improv, and self-producing are all three great.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but get real training too.
But it's not, and yes, be trained, but, from social media to producing your own web series to doing your own work as well. For those of you who don't have your SAG card, that's your quick way of getting your SAG card, is doing a new media series. And being accessible, Steven Spielberg is not walking around the house in Van Nuys knocking on doors saying, "Are you an actor? I'd like to cast you." It's not happening. So that means you have to be accessible. You should be, and let's take that even further. You're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, you're on Snapchat. It's part of your work as an actor is to be on social media and be active. And it's also part of your work to find ways to create. That's your workout. And you train, but you also have to use what you've got when you've been training. So YouTube, is a great, the avenues that are available for all actors now compared to when Dee was acting or when I was acting are absolutely stupendous. And you find things to do. I have a news show through YouTube and Santa Monica Mirror newspaper that comes out weekly called Brock in Your Block. So I'm on YouTube with a few thousand hits, every single week. It's something that has to do with my other specialty, but we're not talking about acting, but it is a way to keep me visible. I have a newspaper column in another newspaper in Santa Monica every Saturday morning. It's a way to keep me visible and a way for me to stay creative, a way to keep working. And you have to do that no matter what you're doing. Whether you're behind the camera, you need to get out and film. If you're in front of the camera, you need to be filmed. But what Dee's saying is important. Do not let any of that substitute for the real work of understanding this is a craft. You have to be prepared. You have to be someone who can walk into an audition in that 3 minutes and deliver. And if you can't deliver, D may be patient and give you 3 chances. Most people give you 1 chance and that's it. If I call you in for an audition interview to be represented in my office, you're going to get 1 chance. And if you aren't great, we'll never see you again.
Yeah.
We're not going to say, oh, yeah, we have nothing to do today. That guy that sucked 3 months ago, have him come back. We want someone to laugh at again. We're not going to do that. My office is one of the toughest auditions you can come in to ask for representation for. We're old-fashioned. I expect 2 contrasting contemporary monologues. I expect that you're going to do a cold read. You're going to be able to do a commercial read. If you sing, if you do musical theater, I want to hear 16 bars that day. We're going to be comprehensive. And I also want to hear, what is your 5-year plan? What do you want to accomplish as an actor? So I want to see your work. I want to see video. I want to see YouTube. I want to see if you do sketch comedy or you do stand-up. We want to see that. But I have to see it in terms of an overall package. Because every actor I take, I want to be able to do comedy and drama. And I want them to be someone D could call in this week for a comedy, 2 weeks from now for a drama, and 4 weeks from now she's doing a play, and she's casting for that, and I can have my actor going for that. Because I also believe theater is extremely important as well. Even though we're in Hollywood, I'm proud of the fact that I have 2 of my staff members going to see a play at the Sierra Madre Playhouse tonight. We have actors at Seattle Rep. We have actors in San Diego. Theater is just as important because there's no take 2. You go up on that stage and you got to bring it take 1. Same as stand-up. Stand-up is by far the hardest thing you can do in acting. Absolutely, because there's no safety net at all. And if you go 4 jokes without getting a laugh.
I've done shows. I've done a show before where I had to do 45 minutes and the audience did not laugh once. And I was just thinking of the paycheck. But yeah, it's very paid. But it is important too, because like I was saying before, theater didn't click with me, having to do classical theater, but find that avenue.
Be classical.
Yeah, but find that avenue that works for you, that you find your voice in, and really stick with that. I've been doing stand-up for about 11 years now, and it's really where I learned and honed my craft. That's how.
And you do realize, on top of that, you can always use this phrase: Shakespeare is dead.
Well, no, I mean, I would still love to explore, doing drama and Shakespeare, at a later
Some of
point.
the best dramatic actors are comedians. I mean, it doesn't work the opposite.
Yeah.
It's like a really strong comedian has a really good chance of performing drama, but it doesn't always work the other way.
Because comedy comes from drama.
A lot, people, that's the thing, people will sit through bad theater, they will not sit through a bad comedy show. They just won't, and you can tell if somebody's fake crying, fake laughing, unless you're friends with it.
Unless you're friends with it, you're like, you're a really good friend.
Yeah, but then you wish from then on you will find an excuse never to see comedy shows again. I have one of my actresses who I love, and she decided to do the comedy class. I think he graduated at the Comedy Store. Oh my God, she is. I love my actress. Love her. She's been my actress since she's been my actress for 12 years, I think. And she took the sitcom class, and we all went to see it.
Oh, God.
It was torture. She could not do stand-up. Literally, I love her, but there are some things. It was literally, you sat there, we had to sit through other comics. And you're sitting there, and she's up, and all of us are squirming, and we're sitting in our seats going like, oh my God, please let this be over. Maybe there'll be another thing. Maybe there'll be a power outage. What can we do?
People think, a lot of people, I talk to a lot of New York comics here in LA, and they're just like, well, I'm just going to get up there and talk. I'm just going to go up there and talk. No, girl, don't get up there and talk. Write your material, write your jokes, test it out on an open mic before you do a freaking show.
And also, some people naturally have timing. And some just don't.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can develop that comedic timing. You can do different types of comedy, but you don't really just develop that. You either drop a line or
even with dramatic acting. I mean, like,
Yeah.
there's only, take all the classes you need, there's only so much technique you can learn, but being inherently funny and being inherently that sort of
Absolutely.
dramatic actor is really something that's inside of you. You know,
You can get a laugh out of them like right away. That's like, I mean, if you just get that first laugh, you're safe. I mean, I used to do stand-up and I would walk out and say, "Hi, I'm Dea Vise." It was comedy or porn. And that was it. I mean, that was fine. And 'cause I did
That's
that-
a good opener.
It was a great opener.
That's how you got the dates with the Murphy brothers.
I did them way.
So I died.
So I died. Back, and I'm still here. Yeah, but no, it's like, but the same as with your YouTube stuff. It's like, guys, please write it. Don't just sit and talk about the butterfly on the plant.
Prepare.
Yeah, just come up with something creative and interesting. And if you can't write, go on casting directors for actors and ask for writers. There's 100,000 of them out there. You know?
So, and we met doing a CBS diversity showcase, and we wrote for each other, and so many of the friends that we made through these, through the past couple of years, and we're all working together, and there's a lot of people you can collaborate with here in Los Angeles. It's a great part is that you don't have to be alone. There are other crazy people out there like you.
Great. Yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're never alone.
Well, we want to open it up now for our audience because I know that you've enjoyed this panel. So to our audience, to our awesome panelists here, does anyone have any questions for our esteemed panelists?
First, I'm going to say words. I'll be filming tomorrow. I'm going to wear this t-shirt and I'm going to tell them I'm filming now.
Sure.
There you go. First, I will do that. There you go. I'll be holding filming tomorrow. Yeah, I have really a question. First is to Phil. Sorry about it, sir. If you don't mind.
You can ask me more than one question. I'm just offended you only want to ask me one.
Well, my question is, how important it is when you become an actor that you have to be a SAG? First, I want to know. Is it
If you want to have a career, you got to be a Screen Actors Guild AFTRA member. You're not going to have a career otherwise, period. That's how important it is. If you want to be look at, if you live in, I don't know, in Sonoma, right, and the only thing there is non-union theater and student films and things, and you don't need to become SAG. You're in LA. You're in the major leagues. Going back to a sports metaphor for me, you're not in a minor league town. If you want to compete, you have to be union to win. Otherwise, you'll never have a career. And don't wait for a casting director to proverbially make you union, because most of the casting directors don't have time. They're not going to worry about it. They're going to take whoever's easiest to cast, and you're putting another impediment in their way. So, if you're planning on acting and being a professional at this, and this is your life stream, both of these young actors next to me said that they had no backup plan, that this was it. So in order to do that and win, you got to remove any objections. That's your job. You walk in, you do the best read you can, you look the best you can, you're in the best physical shape you can be, you're in the best mental shape you can be. You're walking and doing a great job at your audition, and on your resume and all your paperwork, everything is there, so they don't have any questions. You're easy to book, and to be easy to book, you've got to be union to win.
Copy. Thank you very much.
This young lady right here.
You're talking about collaborations. What groups are you personally part of that you're actively in, and how do you go about
I collaborate a lot with basically the friends that I made doing the CBS showcase. So I've done stuff with TESS. I've been in her videos. Jimmy Fowley, he has a web series called Go Go Boy Interrupted, so I've done stuff with him. And basically just doing stand-up, and I've done stuff with the Groundlings, even though I haven't taken their classes or anything like that. I've done shows there. But really, I would have to say it was the CBS Diversity Showcase that really sort of like introduced me to a whole group of people, writers and directors and actors. Anybody here who is sort of diverse in any way, LGBT, person of color, disability. CBS Diversity Showcase is a great way to be seen, actually, and that's really what opened the doors.
And ABC is casting
They all
theirs
have
right
theirs.
now.
Yeah, they all, so every network has.
Every network has one now. ABC, one of my actors who's Indian origin just sent me an email saying, was I submitted? One of my friends just got an audition for it or just sent his tape
Yeah.
Yeah.
to it. Can I be submitted too? And he already was submitted. But Rishi, who is a stand-up comedian as well,
Oh, yeah.
is looking at it going, all right, I want to get into the ABC showcase. So the
Yeah.
showcase for you really
The
works.
CBS one, yeah, it's great. It's, from what I hear from other people who've done both different ones, the CBS one is the most comedy focused.
Yeah.
And they tend to, their heads of casting tend to take a real interest in it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's what it blew open doors for me. Absolutely.
I come from, like I said, I come from musical theater and musical comedy. So I went to UCB in New York, Upright Citizens Brigade, and also I'm a performer at UCB LA. So a lot of my collaborations come from my home theater. I have a show every month, and it keeps you working out. So like if I know that I have a show every month, that means I'm always going to be collaborating with these people and always going to be on stage and having that stage time. That way you're always learning, always writing, always doing all that other stuff. And again, you know, CBS Showcase, we can't speak to that enough. That was just a great breeding ground for us because for that particular one, we can speak to that experience. When you audition for CBS, you bring in your own characters and you bring in your own writing.
Yeah.
So they basically come to a room and they say, okay, 5 minutes of what you got.
Yeah.
And
Original characters.
original characters. So you come in, you do 5 minutes of your own original material, and then you spend 4 months writing for each other, 4 grueling months in the basement of CBS Radford,
Yeah.
writing for each other.
Yeah.
Writing, you know,
Rehearsing
sketch comedy,
sketches.
rehearsing. You can rehearse up to 20 sketches a day, I would say.
boot camp.
I'm not exaggerating.
It's boot camp.
You
Yeah.
will do 20 sketches a day, and you will write, and you will be tired and sick and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. And just to come out and churn out the best material. And it was really like, you know, boot camp for us, and that's how we have such a, you know, strong relationship and strong collaborators with anyone in that particular program.
You leave
and-
that place with like 40 new best friends.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
like,
do.
we've only known each other for 2 years, and seriously, I mean, like, I left with like 40 new best friends.
Yes, yes, we're a family.
And it's really, like I said, it's a boot camp. I mean, I had no experience in improv or sketch when I auditioned. I was just doing stand-up, and I basically just took small characters in my stand-up act and turned it into like my original characters in the sketch. But it really did, it blew open doors for me. Like, I got my agent through it, and I started, you know, they started putting me on an audition. Superstore is my 5th acting job. But I just started booking small jobs here and there when I was doing the showcase. Like I booked like a 2-line co-star here, and then all of a sudden after the showcase you book like a small part in the movie and a guest star here, and then
consistent.
you know. But then you know, it's being seen. It's presented to industry people, so it's all these casting directors and agents and executives see all at once, like on one night, and it's a really a great.
Yeah, and it helped really figure out like what your thing is.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
we all left being like, this is my thing. Like for me, it's a lot of my stuff is political reactive comedy, also musical comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, what is your thing? What do you
Yeah.
bring to the table?
I'm kooky characters, and that's
Right.
they gave me a lot of crazy kooky characters in that showcase, and and everything I booked since then has just been like kooky, crazy, sassy, whatever.
But if you,
Pays the bills.
Crazy, beautiful.
Yeah.
if you can't get in one of the diversity showcases, you know, what I always tell people, actors especially, create mastermind group. You know, find 10 people, find a writer, find a filmmaker, find a bunch of people, and the internet, you can find people everywhere. Create your own little mastermind group and make your own content.
And prioritize it.
And
People
start
play.
performing and start inviting people.
Yeah.
And at first nobody will
Find
come.
serious actors.
Find
Yeah,
serious
exactly.
actors that
Do
are
it.
as serious as
Men.
you are.
Follow through.
Fire anyone who's not.
Yeah,
And,
totally.
you know, like now that I fired one person, I'm gonna fire everyone.
Woo, Dave's on a roll.
I'm not on it now. No,
She's
seriously,
on a roll.
if they're not as serious as you are, get rid of them because they will
She's back
bring
from
you
the dead
down.
and she's taking it.
This fall,
This
she's
fall.
firing everyone.
Everyone gets fired.
About this gentleman right here.
So my question can kind of go out to the group as a whole, but it mentions something that Phil was talking about. I'm new to LA and just moved here in March.
Welcome.
Woo.
You're gonna hate it the first 2 years.
Yeah, the first 2 years. Yes, friends.
You're gonna cry.
I'm good with rejection. I've asked out enough women throughout my lifetime. I'm
Excellent.
good with that.
Hello.
So But sort of what drove me to really come out here was a similar sort of experience in Dea's. I had a life-changing experience. I was hit by a car, a lot of cycling, hit me like 40 miles an hour.
Everyone's done it. And it's a Shakespearean drama, and everyone's done it.
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, it ended my music career, it kind of ended a lot of things for me. And it took a while to kind of get back, and when I did, I realized I still wanted to be connected to entertainment, and so I started pursuing acting. But before I came out here, I tried to build up as much as I could, so I knew sort of what I was looking for. I had, reels, and had headshots, I had built up somewhat of a resume. But I know just how important SAG is, and my question out here is being new, and I'm the type of person who is just, I need to be doing stuff as much as possible. Like I developed a pilot for an unscripted show that's kind of based on some of that. So, and we shot a pilot for it, and I'm out here trying to do stuff with that. But at the same time, I feel like I'm still limited in seeing what resources are out there. I mean, actors access backstage, casting, that type of thing. But I feel like I could do a million of these types of projects, but never really get in front of a casting director or
So, I'm gonna...
And so I guess the idea is what are good possible resources or ideas to really get in front of
Don't
projects.
ever pay to meet anyone, ever.
Right.
Unless it's me or Dee. We take money, we just want you to leave it by the door. Which is why the Monkey Brothers went out with her.
Yeah.
So, look at,
No, I know that's a temptation.
No, but it's not even that as much as,
It's always
think of it this way, your student films and your grad films, those are student film directors and grad film directors. Guess what they're going to be doing? So you're building up contacts every single time you do one of those two. And so do your student films, do your grad films, do your theater. If your work is stellar, people will start to find you. Okay? Do the work. If you're going to do a play just because someone from the industry may be there, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
All right, and you're bound to be disappointed. If you just do the work because it's great work and man, I'm going to grow at it, then fine. And eventually you'll get to the point where you say, all right, I want to submit to agents, I want to submit to managers. And then you start looking and somebody will nibble. Somebody, if your pictures are good, if you build up that resume, and if you're doing good work, people will also start referring you. I have referrals every day from people who say, hey, I've seen this actor, I've worked with this actor, and I want you to see this person.
Yeah, me too.
That happens all the time. Cast directors, how do you think we get people into cast directors a lot of times?
Yeah.
I mean, they hope that we have curated our collection of actors enough that they know if they call one of our people in, right, that they're going to get great talent. For you, not having that agent or manager yet, work. Keep working. Because then when you meet someone at Gelson's or Bristol Farms, because you're obviously not going to go shop at a Vaughn's or John's Market because you're trying to get representation. But you really are. I mean, you're prepared all the time. Every minute you walk out of your house in LA, someone may talk to you. So your next job could be waiting down the street corner while someone's walking a dog.
I got my last 3 casting jobs on Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah,
Because I'm on Facebook all the time.
I spend several times a day. I'm on pretty much any group you can possibly be, just scouring.
But are you on mine?
Are you following me on Facebook? Are you following Dea on
Casting jobs for
Facebook?
actors, you are.
It was interesting because
But you're not on D-Vice.
I think I
I am with a D-Vice.
You're on D-Vice. If you're not on D-Vice Facebook, go on D-Vice Facebook.
Yeah, look at people. We know people. I've interviewed people who connected with me on Twitter. Literally, and they kept coming. And I know casting directors who have had meetings with people. I took 2 clients literally because they kept communicating with me on Twitter, not in a clingy, stalky sort of way. But, you know, yeah, not creepy, but and I finally started, all right, let me go look at their resume. Let me see what's going on. And I started to get to feel like I knew them, so I called them in. And those things make a difference. So do the work on Twitter. Make sure you're friends with every single cast director you can find on Twitter. You can do that on Twitter very easily and Instagram easily. Facebook, you can, if they accept you, then fine. At least you have an idea of what they're doing, right? Well, I haven't seen Dee in a year, 2 years. All right? And
But you know exactly what I'm up to, and I know what you're up to.
yeah, because we're on Facebook together, right? First thing I walked in and said, "Oh, you finished all your work for your degree." She said, "Well, I still have my dissertation," and we were able to communicate. Yeah, and literally, those things are effective. They really do help because you're trying to have a relationship.
Cut in here real quick. I'm a huge fan of reverse engineering and working backwards. I really live by, if there's somebody out there working and doing something that you want to emulate, figure out how they did it and do the same damn thing. Like a lot of the comedians and actors and the people who are creating and producing and executive producing and doing their own work, they went to UCB. So I was full on like, okay, something's going on over here that I need to get in on, and that's where I went. And I found success there. So I feel like a lot of it has to do with if there's a certain creator or a certain performer or artist or whatever that you're into, then do what they're doing and seeing if that their path resonates with you. I feel like it can cut out a lot of the time that you may otherwise be spending hoping that a group is right for you, or hoping that these folks or this brain trust or whoever you've made for yourselves. Because a lot of that, you know, your time here is short, so figure out what the path is, and if somebody really resonates with you, then try and do what they did, I think.
You know, audit every class, you can't audit every comedy group, you can't. I did Acme, and I also I was in the Broadway company in Acme, and I was in the County, so for a while. But that was when I was an actor, I'm not anymore, but I mean, but it still helps me with everything in life.
Yeah.
UCB and Groundlings, they also have diversity scholarships.
Yes.
So just go on their website, you can apply.
I was a groundling
for one.
So, and UCB now, I would send, you know, I was the Groundlings for a long time. I send most of my people to UCB now, but I use UCB and the Groundlings for improv because they tend to focus you more on television and performance.
Right.
But I don't neglect scene study and cold reading.
I mean, I still go to scene study too, and if there are studios
now, who's the teacher that sucked?
I will not say. I'll tell you, I sent her a vision, I will not. You can figure it out.
Oh, that was my teacher from college.
You'll know your teacher. I will figure out who will tell you. Yeah.
You don't like Dennis Smith.
If I didn't tell you, really small moments there. Those cameras were awful.
We've got time for just 2 more questions, and even if we don't get to you, we invite you to stay after the panel. Don't forget the Parks Finance panel. So let's go here real quick.
Hi, my name is Abe Santana, and I think I'm the oldest Filipino American actor here.
In the world?
Filipino American. I want to thank you guys, the younger person that coming in, the preparation that you guys did. When I did about 40 years ago, I was already acting here in the United States. I tell them I'm Hawaiian.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that.
Because, you know, when I told them about Filipinos, where's that?
Yeah.
So most of my job at the time, of course, I wasn't playing Filipinos. I was always playing. I did theaters. I went to school and all like that. I spent my GI Bill going to acting school here, and so I did that for a long time. And finally, I quit. And I quit so many times. 40 years I've been acting. Quit so many times. But suddenly the thing changes with the Filipino thing. So I just say that I'm glad that I'm one of the Filipino American that our film went to the Sundance website.
Awesome.
The first Filipino American that went to Sundance, and
when was this?
2006 or 2001.
Cool.
And the funny thing is that we got in as Native American, not Filipino. So since then, when I got back, I didn't quit anymore. I keep doing it. So nowadays, I do a lot of, commercial.
Great.
I have one that's running right now. So I think it's gonna hit about a million hit very soon with the charter commercial. So
I used to counsel.
this time I'm playing Filipino.
Love it. Yes.
Now people know what it is.
I really like to, I've been a member of FilAm Creative for a while, and right now I'm also doing a film festival for Filipinos.
Cool.
It's made,
Wow.
so
Better plug that.
I just want to thank you guys for doing that. Now I can play Filipino instead of just being Hawaiian.
Love it. Love it.
I used to counsel commercials for Japan. I did, thousands of commercials for Japan. But when I first started working, I worked for Susan Havens, and now she's an agent, but she used to be a casting director. And the Japanese are very specific on, if they're cast Japanese, they have to be Japanese. But they couldn't tell the difference on any of the other Asians.
Right.
Quite often. So we would bring on everybody for every role, It's like, oh, who cares? They don't know.
She had a question there.
So going back to like training, is it
Yes.
essential to train at a well-known studio or training facility versus just any type of training? Like someone not as well-known.
Well, sometimes when you meet with reps, they'll be like, if you have that name recognition, they'll be like, oh, you're in such and such studio. And so sometimes that'll help resonate with other people, I think. And here in LA, you have the luck of, if you're at a more well-known studio, because I still go to Scene Study. I go to Scene Study at John Rosenfeld Studios. But if he will often have casting directors or management reach out to him. So I feel like, not to say that you won't get the good quality training with the name brand, but you might get a little bit more of the networking part at a name brand studio, I think.
And you'll get more, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I feel like that's kind of the extra icing on the cake benefit. You'll still always get, if you get the reps in, get the reps in and do your scene study and do your work and know your script analysis and all that good stuff. But sometimes you'll just get a little extra benefit. And actors at your studio will be working actors, so they'll know what's up. Like, I'll talk to some other actors at my studio and they're like, oh, I just went out for this pilot or tested for this, you should get in on it. And that's also another place where to speak on finding community, wherever your dramatic studio is too.
Let's go with our last question.
Another part, I was going to throw something in. Another part of that too is it does, yes, I believe it does help, because when I see that you're in a master class at a studio where I really respect that teacher and I respect what they're doing, I'm going to give you more credence. If your TV and film resume isn't as heavy as I would like, I'm going to look and go, oh, they're studying with, oh, I understand. And they've gone through the levels and they're in the master class. That's going to help me make a decision knowing that you're doing the work, because we all want that. We want that additional way to verify you, to validate you. So I think it does help, absolutely. But it has to be a class that you're challenged in.
Right.
If the class is easy and you don't go home at night after class stressing about your next scene, or damn it, I could have done even better, or the other person in the scene showed me up, then that means you got to try harder. And if it becomes where you just go into class because they say, oh, that was great work, nice work, oh, that was wonderful, and you hear that week after week, it's time to switch classes.
Right.
It's time to challenge yourself more.
Our last question here.
All right, so my question was more for balance and survival jobs. And for you guys, before you were able to get those jobs that really paid the rent, what were the kind of things you guys did to survive that didn't burn you out, make you want to kill yourself at the end of the day, and still leave you open to being able to put your acting first?
I worked as a host at a restaurant. I worked at Raisin Starport at Blackmount for a really long time.
That's right, the bar place.
Yes, exactly. But they were really understanding of my comedy schedule, because I would go on the road, and they were finding a job that affords you to leave for auditions is very difficult. And once I found that, I was like, I'm never letting this go, because they really were so understanding. Go audition, go on the road or whatever, and that was fine. But yeah, I worked at a restaurant. Restaurant work seems to be one of the few jobs here in LA that will afford you that flexibility. Because when I was in San Francisco, I was working, I was in high-end retail, selling nice to rich white ladies. And when I moved to LA, none of those boutiques would hire me. because they just don't hire people in entertainment. They're like, we don't want you to work here for 3 months, then book a pilot and leave. You know, it's because it's all about clientele or whatever. But I went from this lucrative retail job in San Francisco to making $10 an hour as a host in a restaurant. And actually, like the first year that I was living in Los Angeles, I started doing Chelsea Lately. I did the panel for Chelsea Lately, but I was getting paid shit. And so I still had to keep my restaurant job. So people would come in, Chelsea Handler would come in, and be like, oh my God, like, what are you doing here? I work here, don't pay me enough. It was awful. But I really, restaurant work, girl. It's probably one of the few, or temping. I know a lot of my stand-up comedian friends tempt a lot, just trying to, just make ends meet. Because your first priority is to try and make your money off comedy or acting,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like doing gigs on the road. I would drive fucking 4 hours just to make $50, so I could make those $50 and say that I paid my rent doing comedy. I was eating ramen for a fucking month. But, it was important to me. Well, actually,
You had blood pressure.
it was like white rice and ramen. That's all I lived on for like the first
The actor's life for
Not
me.
bad at all.
Exactly. You got credit cards, max them out. That's why
I had a background in writing, so I was a freelance copywriter and wrote like press releases, and I could do that at any time during the day. So I got a lot of jobs doing that, from wherever. So I would like write a press release and turn it in for various companies and stuff like that. And then also group fitness instructor. So I would teach. So I was give a way to get a free gym membership, so you always be looking good. So I worked at the gym and I taught fitness classes. Those were my two things. I made sure that those were at the end of the day or the beginning of the day. That way you had your day free. But I feel like a lot of people still have gym jobs and writing jobs in there too.
Don't go into casting being an assistant. If people are like, oh, I want to be an assistant, and I could get auditions there. It's like you won't ever audition there, and they might let you leave for auditions for a little while, but then after that, what will happen is suddenly you won't get to leave for auditions, and you'll end up being a casting director. Stay out of the office, unless that's what you want to do.
Add personal assistants though.
Yeah, for sure.
Nannies. If you're at a high-paying nanny job, some of my actors do nanny, and some of my actors are personal assistants. A ton of waiters, bartenders, dog walking companies, things like that.
This is real talk now, man.
Yeah.
This is real talk.
Uber.
No, yeah. I have actors who are Uber and Lyft drivers.
They make a lot of money.
You find I have an actor who teaches ESL. I have actors who do all kinds of different things. So I mean, listen.
You get your hustle on.
It actually really helped me. Like, I feel like if I had landed a retail job like I did in San Francisco, because I was making good money selling gowns and handbags.
You wouldn't have worked on your
I wouldn't have, yeah, exactly. Because of the fact that I was working a shitty host job for $10 an hour. And I was like, well, I better fucking land something. I better land or book this role. And, and it really, it adds fuel to the fire. Just, that's the fire of the belly. So, get a shitty job.
Be poor.
Get a shitty job, be poor for a few years, and then make your money doing TV at some point.
And if you can do anything else for a living, just go ahead and do it.
Yes.
Because this is really hard.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's an amazing process to get through to where you guys are booking and working.
Good luck having those conversations with Filipino parents. Your
Yeah.
parents,
Well,
good luck. They're like, Mrs. Law, you should have gone to Harvard.
My parents are very supportive, actually. I was really surprised.
Mine were once they started booking. Once they started booking. Before they would send me articles of like, here's an article about someone who quit.
Yeah.
About someone who quit. And then finally you book something and then they're like, oh my God.
I always believe that.
I was thinking,
Yeah, exactly.
Also, they quit and became a nurse.
That's all that needs to be right now.
Everything is like, don't have a plan B, because if you do, you'll just end up doing that.
Yeah, and seriously, you're throwing caution to the wind, but always remember, it's like everybody actually is on the same team. I mean, it's like I'm no better than any actor, and I don't have a job without actors, so actually you're better than I am. Everyone in the industry is on the same team, and we're all on the same level, even if, it's like having a series is one, you got a series, and you're brand new, but you're both actors and you both resonate with each other, and as the artist in yourself, just never forget that that's why you're here, and always remember that little baby part of you that was 5 years old and got up on stage and made your parents laugh, and then you got that feeling and that bug, and never ever let that go, because that'll get you through this.
I want to introduce the members of our leadership team here at FilAm Creative. Behind the camera, one of our co-founders and one of the board of directors, Mr. Walter Boholz. One of our vice presidents right behind him is Meriden Villanueva. And I especially want to thank the gentleman who put this together. He is also one of our vice presidents and he's the producer of this event in the back, Mr. Edwin Santos. Invite you to speak with the three of those folks, or me, about FilAm Creative and joining our great cause. And of course, before we do our final drawing from Park's Finest, let's give a big round of applause to our 4 panelists.